Hello everyone, today we will be discussing why Ron Desantis will never beat Donald Trump and will not be the next president of the USA. The US elections of 2024 are set to become one of the most important but also one of the most entertaining elections of US history. Especially the Republican primaries will be drawing a lot of eyes. This will mainly revolve around Donald Trump versus Ron DeSantis, although the likes of Nikki Haley, Mike Pence, Larry Elder, Vivek Ramaswamy and Tim Scott will also try to put themselves in the spotlight during these primaries. The winner is likely to take on Joe Biden, someone whose chances greatly depend on who is his challenger. This is also the reason why a lot of Republicans and conservatives have decided to put their eggs in the basket of Ron DeSantis. Many believe that Ron DeSantis will prevent a repeating of 2020, which essentially was a referendum on Donald Trump. When Donald Trump enters the stage, he immediately swallows up all of the attention, and no matter who you are, Trump will always be the hot topic. This means that every single election involving him will eventually turn out into a referendum with the question, do we want more or less Trump? There is a large group of Americans who are incredibly resentful towards the man, and they will likely mobilize against him if they can stop him in the presidential election. This is what makes it so interesting. Ron DeSantis is completely in line with Trumpism, but he is not Trump and he may sway the independent voter. But is this really true? Can we assume this so easily? And how can he pass Trump in the first place? This is where it all gets interesting. As it is right now, DeSantis' chances seem really slim, and that is not because of his failed Twitter Spaces launch, but it has much more to do with his unique positioning. DeSantis' first challenge will be to beat Trump in order to move to Biden or another Democrat, but this is the hardest task. Trump has a very loyal base of supporters that is guaranteed to amount to around 35% of Americans. For the GOP primaries, he is currently polled to have 53% compared to DeSantis' 26%. Knowing this, we see how much of a daunting task this will be for DeSantis, but we haven't seen the worst yet. The other two reasons why he is very much unlikely to win are that one, he is probably not charismatic enough and not swift enough on his feet when compared to Trump. Two, the independent voter trope might not be as accurate as many believe. Let's dive into the first point first. So the current polls are in Trump's favor, but are only based on preference. They don't say much about debating skills or other factors. And this is something that will definitely come to play in the primaries. Here, a fiery and fierce Trump will take on DeSantis live on television, assuming that he shows up for the debates, of course. DeSantis is, of course, very hawkish and assertive when it comes to policy, but there is no indication up to this point to assume that he can deal with the personal attacks from Trump that will be coming his way. When looking at the Republican base, we can see that many believe that DeSantis is not as charismatic or tumultuous as Trump, and if he does not stand his ground on live TV, this might be to his detriment. But even if he survives this and comes out on top, he will be facing our next challenge, which is swaying the independent voters to his side. DeSantis has of course been seen as a more calm and professional version of Trump, something that might connect with the Trump opposing base, as he is more likely to extend his hand towards the other side and capture the center. But is this really true? The left wing and center-left base has been very consistent on many issues like abortion and LGBTQ+, and DeSantis has not really done anything to appease them more than Trump. It could even be said that he has done worse in this regard. His crusade crusade against Disney, sowing alarm over critical race theory, the so-called Don't Say Gay bill, and flying border crossers across the country. He also stated that he will be the one who finally ends woke culture. While everyone on the conservative side may agree with this has definitely alienated him from the center, or arguably as much as Trump. You cannot be an adherent of Trumpism and appease everyone. That is just impossible. At the same time, we have seen that more biased networks like CNN and MSNBC and the likes have started to see DeSantis as their main target of attack. This is because they desperately hope that Trump will win the primaries. This is their only shot at re-electing Joe Biden. This is because they believe that Trump is the only one who can distract the public from Biden's extremely poor performance as a president and, of course, his cognitive issues. They would love to start another Trump referendum that makes it all a big Trump show. In the process, they will be mobilizing the anti-Trump base to keep him out of office again and maintain Biden as their brain-dead puppet. What all of this means is that the media will give Trump a lot of attention, boosting him and his popularity among Republicans. This combined with the many trials that are still coming, and Trump will be a daily occurrence on everyone's TV. The consequences of this is that Trump will overshadow DeSantis in the primaries, and that DeSantis is only left with the option to enact more and more right-wing policies to convince the conservative base, and in the process, of course, further alienating himself from the center. All of these factors combined create a huge hurdle for DeSantis and make it highly unlikely that he ends up getting the top job. This is not the right time to run for him, as you simply cannot compete with Donald Trump himself when it comes to Trumpism. His only hope is that Trump shifts to the left by trying to attack DeSantis, something that DeSantis has accused him of in a recent interview with Ben Shapiro on the Daily Wire. Here we can see some truth. It is true that Trump has attacked DeSantis for example, his COVID policies, and that he has adopted the left-wing narrative of Death Santis. He shoots himself in the foot with this, as essentially all COVID skeptics are on his side. The same goes for his attacks regarding DeSantis' fight against Disney. But despite all of this, it is still highly unlikely that Trump's core voter base will abandon him these primaries. Essentially, DeSantis has a very small chance to win the primaries. And if he does, he has to differentiate himself from Trump in such a way that will alienate the center when he faces Joe Biden. It is not impossible, however, as we have seen crazier things happen in the past. Trump's rise to the presidency came as an even bigger shock, so who knows? One thing is guaranteed for the upcoming elections, and that is that it will be one of the greatest we have ever witnessed.